Shalom, shalom. This is Elder Isaac Hill, Restores of Truth Ministry, sharing with you another scripture nugget. Today's scripture nugget is actually coming from a Torah portion that we just finished, Shelach, which means to send, and from the book of Bamidbar or Numbers, chapter 13, specifically chapter 13, verses 1 through 3. So he says, and God spoke to Moshe, saying, send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel, and send one man from each tribe of their fathers, every one a leader among them. And by the mouth of Yah, Moshe sent them from the wilderness of Paran, all of them men whom were heads of the children of Israel. Now, as we read this, various things comes to mind. But remember, this is a portion of the Torah portion that is to sin or sin, which is Sholiach. Well, as we look at this, sometimes what we see is that Yah gives men, he gives vessels, if you will, if I could say that, authoritative directive. And sometimes within that authoritative directive, there is some leeway of governance, if I could say that. And in that leeway of governance, you find yourself um, borderline error. And what I mean by that is because he's giving you a leeway, there's a potential for flesh and fear to set in because he's giving you the authority, but he's also allowing you to have some leeway on how certain things are to be carried out. And in this case, what we find is that Moshe has been given the authority to lead the people to Canaan, but at the same time, he gives a little leeway to Moshe in choosing men who will go out and search out the land or to spy out the land. And a lot of times when there's an authoritative directive, again, there's that borderline of error that could come in, or a borderline that can cause borderline of mistake, if you will. And so, and that's what we see in this particular chapter, where 10 spies went out, 12 rather, and 10 came back with an evil report. They saw the same thing as the other two, Joshua and Caleb, but 10 came back with a different report. They had the authority to go out and to search the land, to see if certain things were so, whether the land was fertile as spoken, whether the people over there was good or evil, or whether there was forest or not. And so they had the same type of power, the same type of authority or directive, if you will, but yet they came back with a different result. And a lot of times it's because of that borderline that is given there, you know. But when Yah gives an authoritative directive like this, in which he says, per se, you can send out 12 or you can go out and spy out the land, basically he wants you to do one thing. That is, take the authoritative directive, but yet, in order to accomplish it, it must line up with purpose. It must line up with his will. Well, how do I know his will? You know his will because initially he says, I've given you a land. I want you to go to the land. I want you to conquer the land. I want you to possess the land. So when the 12 went out, the 10, instead of bringing back an evil report, what they should have done was use the authoritative directive and say, I'm going to line up, or we're going to line up with purpose. So anytime that Yah has anointed, or if I can use that term, or have placed his set apart spirit upon someone, or his favor, or he has touched someone to a point to where they are in some level of leadership, some level of being overseeing a particular congregation or so forth, that's a clear sign that he's given some type of authoritative directive. And to make sure it's carried out, it has to line up with his plan. Again, in the case of the spies, their purpose was to go out and possess the land, to go out and to come into Canaan, to go out and have a land to where they could be a kingdom of priests. Well, the 10 went out along with the 2, total of 12, but came back with an evil report. Why? Because they forgot the purpose. They forgot the purpose. So as we specifically, so-called teachers, so-called overseers, whether we call ourselves this or call ourselves that, it doesn't matter. What matters is that authoritative directive must line up with his purpose. Shalom, shalom. See you next time on Scripture Nuggets.